Okay, so welcome to part 2 of the HMV Stereomaster 2026. So I'm in the chapel here at Tango Towers, which one of the reasons we had this built was for large audio products. So as long as I get this done by the weekend, we're all right. Otherwise it has to be put on one side. Now, this is my chassis, and I've changed all the small capacitors on it. This is the customer's chassis, which we haven't started. I wanted to show you something. So, the mains plug on this is one of the older types which doesn't have the shrouded pins. So that we will be changing that. And you can see that this isn't in the cord grip. So you've got it's the old colour code where it was red, black and green. So I'm just going to open this up. I'm going to show you something else. I hope the background music isn't louder than me. We've got a 5 amp fuse in there, which is fair enough, but we'll be doing 3. They've got green, and then they've got black, and the red's fallen out, which is what's going to happen. Now then, that's how it should be, except of course it needs redressing, and we've got a new plug on order. I think we've got 2 left, but I've just reordered them because I've had to order capacitors. The big electrolytic there, we have to buy the right diameter to fit in the P-clips. It's the plug therefore, which isn't on the customer's one, but ours. I knew it was one of them. So on ours, it's still got an older non-shrouded type of plug, but the cord grip's at least in. Once again, we've got a 5 amp fuse, but look, somebody's put the red live to the neutral and the black neutral to the live, which means that the chassis was live. So the only thing stopping you from getting an electric shock at 240 volts was the fact the knobs are insulated. But if the knobs had come away, and somebody tried to touch these metal shafts, they'd have had mains potential. So that was a scary thing found on my one. So what we're going to do, I'll just zoom in a little bit in a moment. We're going to take the capacitors off the customer's amplifier and replace all the ones that I don't have to specially order. So we're going to do that right now. So we're going to use the desoldering station. This has actually been sent in by one of our viewers, believe it or not. And it's very kind of him. We just needed unblocking. I know these can be a pain. When I was at Notting Radio, we had an Oryx one, which was about £700. It was an absolute pain. But you know what? This relatively cheap one, which we've been kindly given, actually works better than the Oryx one. I'll be using, just because we're in the chapel, I'll be using the little soldering iron, which is on a battery. So I've got this set for £599. And we're just now move the camera so you can see what I'm doing. I've got all the manuals here, especially even the one on the floor. We don't have a factory original mic for Mike. We don't have a factory original manual for these, but we've got quite a lot of other stuff. I don't know whether I showed this in the first video. There's the capacitors come out of mine. Don't know if I showed this, so I'll show you on the second video. We've got original sales blurb. We've got the ERT service sheet. 2328 is the version of this with the built-in radio. This is exactly the same but without the radio. So when you look up 2026 in the red servicing books, you know, in the series, was in Nunes or whatever. All you get is 2026. It's the used 2328. This is a scan I've done today of the 2328. Just zoom this back out again. Obviously we haven't got the radio module, all the circuits, all the layouts, but there's a that's in deliberately upside down, and the circuit for the amplifier, which is relevant, and the alignment procedure. So I've done a second print of this because what I've come to find is the polarity of the capacitors hasn't been stated on the manual or the boards. So I've had to make a note what's positive and what's negative as the capacitors have come out. And of course both the amplifier channels are the same, so you can whip all the capacitors out and just look at the other side. So that's kind of my working helper. And then I do have an original scan, which I again did myself, of an instruction book to one of these, so that you know we know how to do the pickup, how to do the alignment, how to do the lubrication, how to connect your tape recorder, how the DIN socket's wired, how to plug in your transistor radio, because obviously you'd only use an HMV one, wouldn't you? And that's actually the proper one for the 2026. And that's because my grandfather owned a 2026, and that is the scan of the manual for my actual grandfather's own one. How about that for history? So what we're going to do is just going to desolder the capacitor out of one of these boards, and then solder in what isn't a special order item, which will come through in the next few days from the wholesaler. So this is all ready to go. I'm going to put my torch on this. There isn't as much light as I would like, especially now it's dark. I really ought to have brought the other glasses as well. I'm just going to whip these out because that's all we need to do. I'm not going to bother testing them because we already know what the outcome will be. If I was using a solder socket, I'd end up having to solder them to unsolder them to add flux, but this seems powerful enough to melt the 50-year-old solder. So being in the trade, we're able to buy I'm just going to move the viewfinder because I'm not looking at the monitor. We're able to buy proper 60/40 solder, because as you know, the retail, they've got to sell you that ROHS stuff, but because we do repairs, we're allowed to have traditional solder. Machine sounds like a cow mooing. So the way we price these jobs, it's priced because I can do this in 45 minutes from start to finish. From taking it out, putting it on the bench, so having all the components changed is 45 minutes. So that's how it's worked. So when I get emails from people, I do it myself, only I haven't got the time. Oh, pity they haven't got 45 minutes. I want to get rid of the television and they might have 45 minutes. So when I send this back, it's going to cost less in postage because these components, the new components, are so much smaller. Why doesn't that want to come out? And no dry joints, even though it's over 50 years old. Oh, I'll tell you what's a laugh about this service sheet from ERT. This one. On the back they're advertising Hunt's capacitors, and it's Hunt's capacitors which are one of the most evil ones which we get rid of. I'm sure they were fine at the time. So is that everything now? This one. Right, so I'll pause the video, turn this machine off, and we'll come back to it when I've put the new parts in. All the capacitors on the main boards, and now it's this subboard, which is the preamplifier. As I said, the very first incarnation used a crystal cartridge, and then subsequently there was all ceramic. So this extra board went in. I think these are the only silicon transistors in it. So they've got these nuts which are 4BA. I've just loosened them off and get these out by hand. Usually. Except when there's a video recorder going. Why is that tight? So when I came to do these capacitors on my chassis, one of them had been changed. Therefore wasn't original. And it was changed for, they got rid of the black one, which is Callin's. They replaced it with this make, but obviously not one of these. TCC, it was Telegraph Condenser Company, wasn't it? So they put a TCC one in. So it must have gone down on one channel, like within guarantee period, because I've never had that happen. Yeah, they need changing now, 50 years later. So we've got these, I'll just put the desolderer back on. So we've got these two here, which are 2.2 microfarads. Well, they're 2, but the preferred value these days is 2.2. You've got quite a wide tolerance on electrolytic capacitors, like plus 50. Or was it minus 50% plus 20%, something like that. There's two new ones. So just wait for that to come up. The customer's one has got spacers and washers and things underneath, which mine hasn't. So although they're both schedule C, this seems to be a little bit later. As soon as this gets to 440 degrees, there we go. That didn't seem to do anything. So I'm not taking the components all out because I'm going to carry on with the story about my replacement ones. And they should be sufficiently out. So when I took them out, of course I looked at the polarity. And I'll take this one out on the right. I'm carefully going to look at what that polarity says. And it says positive to the right. So on the modern ones it's negative that's indicated, so positive to the right. It's not shown on the printed circuit. Get that soldered in. I've not got any side cutters over here, so I'll call it a day for today. It's 8:10 in the evening. It's Sunday. I've done my church services, you know, I've already been working. So let's take this other one out on the left. And let's look at the polarity of that. And as predicted, the positive is to the left. So it's symmetrical. And I'm telling you all this for a reason. So of course these modules, the two amplifier modules, aren't mirror image because they're identical. But this board is custom as a preamp, probably solely for this product. So I can't put that back because I can't cut the wires off. So negative, negative, positive, positive. And that's exactly how I've done this one. It's not how it came out. The black one, which was the Callin's one, came from that position. The red one, which was the TCC one, was the wrong way round. So I thought, hang on a minute, surely this is mirror image. And so I looked at the circuit diagram, and the preamp is shown, which is there. And we can see there's a 33k resistor on the emitter of each of those. There's the 33k. So you can see which way around it's supposed to be. We can see that that goes to positive. We can see that goes. So how many years has that one of mine had that capacitor in the wrong polarity? And has it worked on that channel for donkey's years? Well, there you go. So we'll draw it to a close at that. But you know, seeing errors like that from a very long time ago, it's always interesting. We've got a bench load of duff capacitors. See you tomorrow. It's Stereomaster. So I've now fitted all new capacitors to the amplifier panels on here and here, and we've replaced the large electrolytic, the original one, and that's not showing it. The original one is 4500 at 30 volts. We've got 4700 at 63. Those of you who do this kind of work will realise that the preferred values have changed over the years, and you always go up wherever possible. We've got quite a wide tolerance, so it doesn't matter. I've left the other P-clip in place. We've got two more capacitors to change, and when I looked at the circuit diagram and thought what I needed to order, the two capacitors here, which couple the stereo mono switch into the mode select, everything runs through those two capacitors, whether it's any of those three imports, you know, the record player, external into that socket, external into this socket, they all run through those capacitors. And they're reversolytics, in other words, non-polarised electrolytic capacitors, and I didn't realise that, so I ordered them in normal electrolytic. So we're going to have to reorder, and I'll use something like polypropylene or something. Well, they don't need to be electrolytic, but times have moved on. The customer moved the balance control because it wasn't working on one channel, and in a hope that it was, or whatever. We've changed the mains plug. So on the customer's one, it was just an old mains plug which didn't have the shrouded pins. We've got a new mains plug on there, and on my chassis, of course, it had the reverse polarity for the mains. So what we're now going to do, connect it to a cassette deck, which is what we normally do. Connect it to some speakers and run it on the bench, and then hopefully into some test gear. Okay, so we've got it on and we've got it connected to some test equipment. So I've just had to order, don't know whether I mentioned earlier in the video, these two capacitors are supposed to be reverse-olytics, and everything goes through those, so I really don't want to miss them. I'm going to do the alignment. That's going to remain the same, but the test which I'm about to do and setting the balance may change. So I'm going to have to just leave this until RS deliver. So it may be 3 days on here. I hope not. We've got a club meeting. Hope they come tomorrow. Right. So what do we need to do? Well, according to the service manual, we need to check for 1.5 volts on at least the emitter of the output transistor, but it's easy to get to because it's actually one leg of the preset. Now, of course, these are positive earth. Where's my service sheet? So what we're looking for is at the preset there, we're looking at the emitter at 1.5 volts. I'll just trace this down. We are at positive. So we need to connect one probe to the positive rail and the other one to the wiper, is it, of the preset? No, the wiper and one end are tied down to positive earth. So as you can see, we've got positive coming out of the bridge rectifier to chassis to the positive. The easy way to place that is to clip the probe to the reservoir capacitor. So that's quite easy to get to, isn't it? So we'll do with the crocodile clip lead. Have we got any in here? When I look back, I don't think we've ever done a 2026 before. I've got 3 of my own in stock, but we've never done one. It's always been, I've done a couple of 2018s, but it's mainly been the newer models, especially the 2419 with the knackered speakers. Right, so we've got that connected, so now it'll be over range like that, so I'll just put it to there. If we just check, yeah, it's 27 volts high tension. So if I find the preset, oh yes, it's there. Probably need to do this from the other side. I need one of those talking multimeters. .75. Well, the manual says they should be 1.5. So let's hope we can adjust it. And the other one. As near as we're going to get on that one. So let's have a look at what we've got on the test equipment. So we've got our audio oscillator there, set for 800 Hz as the manual asks for. And because it's a cheap one, it doesn't have a calibrated output. So we're running that into the AC voltmeter, and we are at exactly 1. So if I vary the output, you can see we're at full scale deflection is 1, and that corresponds to 10 millivolts. So it says in the service manual here, connect the audio generator at 800 cycles a second to the tape socket. Sensitivity for this socket is 500 milliwatts, and the output needs to be 10 millivolts. So, and they want you to check that the outputs are within 2 dB of each other. So we've now got this going into, so we've got nothing, we can't hear anything. What we've got is it going into this audio meter, and we've got 0.5 there, and we've probably got about 0.6, possibly 0.7 there. So they're pretty equal. They're certainly within 2 dog biscuits. So that is all A-OK as far as the alignment goes. Now we're going to have to check this again, as I said, when I change those capacitors. But I'm sure that nothing's going to swap. So now I'll change the output meter to the loudspeakers. So I've got a pair of disco type PA speakers set up. If we just widen that out. So we'll do that. And I'll just connect up.